Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the critical perspective of the construct of intelligence. And today we are going to discuss the content, introduction of intelligence, characteristics of intelligence, multidimensional intelligence, intelligence tests, difference between those tests, and concept of mental age. So let's see about the introduction of intelligence. Intelligence has been defined in many ways: the capacity for abstraction, logic, understanding, self awareness, learning, emotional knowledge, reasoning, planning, creativity, critical thinking, and problem solving. This all can come under the intelligence. The next is definition of intelligence. According to Woodworth, intelligence is the capacity to acquire capacity. So according to him, the intelligence is nothing but whatever we are acquiring from the surrounding environment, that is our intelligence. Then next is Spearman is telling intelligence is rational thinking. So whatever we are thinking, our thinking capability is nothing but intelligence according to the Spearman. Then next, let's see about the characteristics of intelligence. Intelligence is inborn, it cannot be acquired. So he is telling that when the baby is born, at the time only he is having the intelligence. It cannot be acquired from the whatever he is acquiring, that is different, but intelligence will be inborn. Intelligence of every person is different, as we know that individual difference, like that only the intelligence is also different from one person to another. Intelligence does not differ due to sex differences. So if whether it is a girl or boy, both are having the same intelligence, it cannot be different due to the sex. The next is environment, training and education also affected. So environment, training, whatever we are giving the training through the education to the children, that can affect to their intelligence. Heredity affects the intelligence. So as we saw that first characteristic only, intelligence is inborn. So here the heredity will work definitely. So heredity affects the intelligence. The next is intelligence and knowledge are closely related. Both are different. Intelligence and knowledge are different, but they are closely related to each other. Not same, but related to each other. It helps in learning and in adjustment. So the intelligence is helping the child to learn something. Environment also affect it, like as we saw that in the characteristic itself, environment, training and education is also affecting, like that only the environment, whatever surrounding things are there of a child, that also can affect their intelligence. The next is it help in solving complex problem. So whatever mathematical complex problems will be there, that a child can solve through the intelligence. The next is it is an ability to gather experience. So whatever in life, whatever experience they are getting, that all experience they can gather through the intelligence. It will not come under the knowledge. Gathering experience will come under the intelligence. Is an ability to do intellectual works. So if we give some work or some task to the child that they can do intellectually, if they have the intellectual level high. That's why we are giving task to the children to know their intellectual level. It is an ability to face social situation. So whenever they are taking the decision in their society, at the time also the intelligence is also working. It is a group of abilities. So intelligence is a group of abilities. In the introduction itself we saw this. It is not knowledge, but it's related to knowledge. As I told you, it's not related to the knowledge, but it's like they are having the close relationship between the intelligence and the knowledge, but not related to each other. Then it is not talent, it is basic ability and practiced skill. So it's the talent is nothing but it will be a God gifted, but the intelligence is not a God gifted. If we give the training and if we give the education to the children, then the intelligence can be increased, the intelligence level can be increased. But here talent is different thing. It's not a memory. Whatever, like we are memorizing the tables and the other things also, it's not, the intelligence is not related to the memorization or the memory also. The next, it is not a skill. A skill can be learned but not intelligence. As we saw that the skill, we can learn the skill, but we cannot learn the intelligence. It's affected by the heredity, and it is from the inborn we are having the intelligence. Then next is multidimensional intelligence theories. Here I have enlisted the 7 theories related to the intelligence. First is monarchic theory, second is group factor theory, third is multiple factor theory, fourth is two-factor theory, fifth is theory of primary mental ability, sixth is Kelly's theory of intelligence, seventh is multiple dimensional theory. This multiple dimensional theory we are going to discuss in the in our next video maybe. It was given by the Gardiner, and the remaining theories also we will discuss in the coming videos. The next is intelligence test. So there are 4 types of tests are there where we can see the intelligence of a child or a person. So first is individual test. By seeing the name itself, we are understanding individual test means here one individual have to give the test at a time. So next is group test. By seeing the name, here also we are understanding a group of individual is tested at a time. Like in this group test, we can see the summative assessment, formative assessments, whatever we are conducting in the higher education and the schools also. Those group tests are there. Then individual tests like oral tests which we are conducting at the school level, those will become under the individual test. Next is verbal test. These tests make use of language. Here the instructions are given in words. Individuals are required to use languages as well as paper and pencil for giving the responses. That the tests content is loaded with verbal material. So here in the verbal test we are using the language. The teacher will give the instruction or they will provide them the instruction in a words. Okay. When we are writing the summative assessment exam, before that on the hall ticket they will give us so many instructions. So that will come under the verbal test. And for the children also, they have to write the test in the words only. Okay, they cannot say it verbally, non-verbally. They have to write it, and the child have to use the paper and pencil, and they have to write the responses on the sheet or the paper. Next is non-verbal test or non-language test. Here we are not using any kind of instruction in the languages. These tests involve such activities in which the use of language is not necessary. The use of language is eliminated from test content and response expect in giving directions. Like for example, if we are asking, we can show the flashcards to the children, or we can show the images to the children, and we can ask them, if we are showing the image of computer to our children, then we can ask them, what is this? Then the child will tell us, it's a computer. Okay, here they are not using the pencil, they are not using the paper, just they are seeing the images and they are giving the responses. Then let's see the difference between in the individual test and the group test. Okay, so let's see the difference between the individual test and the group test. So the individual test, these tests can be used both on child and adult. So as we saw that in the interviews also they are calling us individually for the interviews. So here we can use on the adults also, and the group test, this test can be used on a definite age group. Like for example, the summative assessment, in the summative assessment we are giving the same question paper to the same age group people or the child. Like if the grade 7th students are there, the question paper should be distributed among the grade 7th students only. Okay, one particular question paper will be set, and that same question paper will be shared in a that particular age group member. The next is they cannot be used on groups. So the individual test cannot be used on a groups, it can be used in a individual person. The next group tests are cannot be used on a individual, as by seeing the name only we are able to understand it's a group test, means it will be taken in the group only. The next, it needs trained and experienced psychologist. For taking the individual test, we need a experienced psychologist, because we have to set the question according to their psychology. But here in the group test, because we are conducting the test on a same age group persons or children, so that's why we no need experienced psychologist here. It takes less time. The individual test can take the less time, but here in the group test it's consuming more time. They are not very specific. The individual tests are not very specific, but the group tests are specific towards the syllabus or towards the particular topic, like that. Then individual test, the reliability cannot be extended. Like if we are taking the individual test, whatever questions we are asking, they will give those answers only. Here we cannot see their psychological condition, we cannot understand the psychological condition, but in the group tests it can be extended. The next, they provide extra information. In the individual test we can ask some personal questions also. They will give us the day-to-day life questions also we can ask here in the individual test, and they will answer us. Then we will know and we will get some extra information, but in the group test we cannot do. Then next is they are expensive. Individual tests are expensive because we have to give them more time, and we have to spend individual things. But here in the group, they are not expensive, they are cheap. Then child feel nervous in the individual test. Obviously, if they are giving test individually, then they will feel nervous only. Then here in the group test, children are relaxed, because with them there are so many other children are also sitting and they are also giving the exam, same exam. So that's why they will feel relaxed. There is a close contact between examiner and student in the individual test, because they both are only talking and they both are only there in that particular. The close contact between the examiner and student will be there in the individual test, and when in the group test is taking, at the time there is no contact between the two, like examiner and students, they are not connected directly. But next is child do not free. In the individual test, child will be not free. They will feel the stress because they have to face the test individually. But in the group test, they feel free in the group test, because among them there are so many other children are writing those test or giving that group test. There are many problems in process of building, like when we are making or preparing for individual test. At that time we have to face so many problems, like what kind of questions we have to ask, that also we have to set, and it needs the experience. Then next, in the group test, it's not mandatory. Next is verbal test and non-verbal test. In the verbal test, language or words are used, as just now we saw that. Okay, in the examinations also, whatever instructions will be given to us, they will give in the the instructions will be there in the words only. And in the non-verbal test, they will show us the picture, they will show the flashcards, or the abstract objects can be used. Next is cannot be used on illiterates, because here the language is using, that's why we cannot use it in a illiterate person. And the non-verbal test can be used on blind, deaf, dumb and the uneducated person also, because by seeing everyone can say the answer, but by the verbal test can be used on slow learners, as we know that the slow learners are not having much vocabulary store, so that's why we cannot use this on the slow learners. And the verbal test we can use for the all types of boys and girls. They can be slow learners, they can be advanced learners. We can use the non-verbal test on everyone. And the next is cannot be used on very small children, because the small children cannot understand the instructions in words. Like if we give them a list of instructions, they cannot read and they cannot understand. If we will like in non-verbal test, through the non-verbal test they can use they can write and understand it easily. The next is an individual's difference merit cannot be compared. Here we cannot differentiate between the individuals different, but here in the non-verbal test we can know their imagination by seeing the image, what the things they are imagining, that we can understand by non-verbal test. But in the verbal test, just they have to write down the answer. It cannot be authentic also. The next is gets affected by books. In the verbal test, they will refer the books, so many books, whatever they want, they will refer, and they start affecting towards the books. But here, in the non-verbal test, they will not affected by the books. The next is it cannot tell about the abstract mind. So whatever is going on in their mind, we cannot understand by the verbal test. But in the non-verbal test, we can know their imagination, their thinking, whatever whatever is going on in their mind, we can understand by non-verbal test. Because only they have to see the image and they have to answer it. The next is it is written but not reliable, because they have referred so many books. From there they can write, they cannot share their actual experience, what they experienced in their life. But here in the non-verbal test, it is more reliable test. The next is in the verbal test, the child mind remains affected by culture. Here whatever the child have read, that only is going on in his mind. But in the non-verbal test, we can evaluate it easily evaluate their mind easily, and it's more reliable because whatever they are seeing around their society, whatever is their imagination, we can understand in this kind of test. The next is mental age. The concept of mental age. The mental age is a concept related to intelligence. It looks at how a specific individual at a specific age performs intellectually compared to average intellectual performance for that individual's actual chronological age. So here we are understanding by this mental age how the child is act according to his mind, whether his intellectuality is growing or not, and whether the child we can judge here the child's intellectuality. The next is IQ formula to know the mental age of a child. The IQ formula is mental age divided by physical age. Here sometimes in the physical age they will ask the chronological age. Physical age and chronological age are same only.